ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So here we find in this chapter Lord Kapila has been explaining about the fundamental principles which governs this material nature. So he has been explaining about the different elements. In the previous verse we saw the 24 elements were explained, and then 25th element was also introduced as time factor. Kalaha panchavimshakaha, and the time factor is the mixing element which causes this whole creation and dissolution. So here in today's verse it is explained Supreme Lord's influence in this material creation. It can be felt as time factor. Devotees, they are able to see the Supreme Lord present everywhere in this material creation as Paramatma. That is said in Brahma Samhita, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaha Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So for devotees of the Lord, there is no difficulty in feeling the presence of the Lord everywhere. By loving devotional service, he is able to see the presence of the Lord as Paramatma, or even the different energies of the Lord which are present. Just like Krishna teaches in Bhagavad Gita. We were discussing about this in one of the classes, that balam balvatam aham kama raga vivarjitam. Krishna says, if we find something very strong in this material world, somebody possessing strength which is devoid of lust and attachment, then that strength is me. So similarly, Krishna describes how one can feel the presence of the Lord even in this material world. It is a training the devotee understands. We have a certain way of seeing this material world, but if we see according to the Vedic literature, Shastra Chakshu, then our perception of this material existence changes. We see it differently. Say for example, the materialist, when they see this material world, they see it as something which can be exploited for our sense gratification. Whereas a devotee of the Lord, he sees the material world as energy of the Lord, which must be utilized in His service and not for exploitation. So this vision, this understanding, one is able to get from the Vedic literature. So, for a devotee, it is not at all difficult to feel the presence of the Lord. He can feel the presence of the Lord in the energy of the Lord in this material world. But for atheists, for non-believers, it is very difficult for them to feel the presence of the Lord, even though logically any person who is sane can actually understand that beyond this material nature there is a hand of the Supreme Lord. At least one can understand there is a superior energy, something beyond this material nature. There is someone who is controlling. That's how we find even uncivilized people, even though they don't understand who is beyond this material nature, who controls everything, but at least they understand. And they worship something very gorgeous, something very big, like big banyan tree or big, huge mountain, isn't it? But unfortunately, for atheist class of people who by nature are envious of the Lord. See? So for them it is very difficult to feel the presence of the Lord. But Bhagavatam is explaining, even they cannot escape feeling the presence of the Lord. There is no way. The example is given. Prabhupada gives a very wonderful example to explain. The criminal is not aware that there is government, influence of government everywhere, unless he is arrested and put behind the bars. When he is arrested and when he is put behind the bars, then he understands, yes, there is government. Isn't it? Before that, who is government? Where is which government? But when he is arrested and put behind the bar, then he understands the influence of government. Similarly, atheist class of people, they cannot appreciate the presence of the Lord until the fear of death grips them. Just like Hiranyakashipu, when he saw death personified standing right before him, it is explained in Bhagavatam. He was able to see death personified standing before him. Then he was able to appreciate the presence of the Lord in the form of death. Actually, this is very important understanding. Even though the devotee does not like to see this form of the Lord, he is very much afraid to see this form of the Lord. But it is a fact. It is a fact. Actually, devotee can appreciate when he becomes convinced about what is spoken in the Vedic literature, then he can appreciate the presence of the Lord even in the form of death. He'll be able to appreciate. Prabhupada says that when, I think it was India and Pakistan war was going on, and Prabhupada was having his prasadam, and bombs after bomb blast was going on, and people were dying and, crying, all those things were happening. So Prabhupada says he was able to feel the presence of the Lord in that sense. He said that yes, what is there to be afraid of death? That is also another feature of the Supreme Lord. Krishna says that. Mrityu sarva harascha aham. As death personified, I am the one who takes away all the belongings of people, whatever they have. In fact, if you see this in the 11th chapter, where Krishna is showing his universal form, this is very nicely described. What horrible vision Arjuna was able to see in that universal form. I'll just few of that I will read. O all-pervading Vishnu, I can no longer maintain my equilibrium. Seeing your radiant colors fill the skies and beholding your eyes and mouths, I am afraid. O Lord of the Lord, O refuge of the world, please be gracious to me. I cannot keep my balance, seeing thus your blazing death-like faces, awful teeth, in all directions I am bewildered. All the sons of Dhritarashtra, along with their allied kings, Bhishma, Drona, Karna, all our soldiers are rushing into your mouths, their heads smashed by your fearful teeth. Arjuna is able to see all these peoples, Bhishma, Karna, Drona, then Dhritarashtra, all their allied kings, and even some of the people in the side of Pandavas, our soldiers, all rushing into the mouth of that universal form, and their heads being smashed by the fearful teeth of that universal form. I see that some are being crushed between your teeth as well. So they are being crushed. As the river flow into the sea, so all these great warriors enter your blazing mouth and perish. I see all people rushing with full speed into your mouth as moth dashes into the blazing fire. So he's explaining how this is happening. It is just like there is a blazing fire, and then we find the moths are rushing and they are consumed by that blazing fire, finished. So similarly, all these people are being finished. O Vishnu, I see you devouring all people in your flaming mouth and covering the universe with your immeasurable rays, scorching the world, you are manifest. And it is also explained that not only Arjuna, even all the devatas, by the mercy of the Lord, many of the devatas were also able to see this vision of the Lord. They were also able to see what Arjuna is experiencing. And all of them with their folded hand, they are also afraid seeing this form, and they are also praying to the Lord. And Arjuna finally is asking, O Lord of Lords, so fierce of form, Please tell me who you are. I offer my obeisances unto you. Please be gracious to me. I do not know what your mission is, and I desire to hear of it. See? So then the Lord replies, Shri Bhagavan Vacha Kalo Asmi Lokashaya Krita Pravadho. Krishna is saying, time I am. Kala. Kala is time. In the form of time, because this is something which is going to come in future. Krishna is showing Arjuna in the present what is going to happen when the time passes. You see? Sometimes devotees, we don't see the hand of the Lord. Sometimes when we are in distressful condition, some dukkhas, some kind of miseries we are facing, we should understand this is just time. And when the time will pass, things will become balanced. Isn't it? So, here the Lord is showing future to Arjuna. Drona is perished, Bhishma is perished, Karna is perished, all of them. And Krishna will say, yes, you fight, you don't fight, does not matter. These people are not spared. They have to die. And then Krishna will tell, so Uttishta, get up, you gain the glory. Isn't it? Nimitta bhavya sabya sachi. Oh expert, because Arjuna was very expert as a bowman. So the Lord is telling, I have shown you all this, that in the future they are all going to die. I have already finished them as time. So we must have that faith. The time will take its toll. The time to come, things will happen. We should have that patience that is required. See, this is very important. Material world, time has three aspects: past, present, future. Actually, time is eternal. In the material world, it unfolds as past, present, future. In the spiritual world, this effect of time is not there. There is no past, there is no future. There is only present. Prabhupada says there is only present in the spiritual world. There is no past, there is no future. Because past fills our life with lamentation, future fills our life with fear. And of course, in the material world, it's not that in present everything is happiness, isn't it? All the three features of the material world, whether it is past, whether it is present, whether it is future, it's all fearful. It is all devouring. It is all destroying nature of the time. Whereas in the spiritual world, everything is new and fresh. As the time passes, things are destroyed. Things become old, pale, stale. But in the spiritual world, this effect of time is not there. Nityam navayovanam. Every moment is new and new, fresh and fresh. This effect of time is not present in the spiritual world. So, Krishna is saying that this time is nothing but me. And what is the effect of time? That is what Krishna is saying. Shaya kritaha, everything will be destroyed in course of time. This is the effect of time. So when things are destroyed, then atheist class of people, then they realize the presence of the Lord. When things are created and maintained, they don't realize. They don't realize somebody is maintaining, sun is rising, they are thinking it's all automatically happening. Isn't it? Something is being created, they don't realize. Something is being maintained, they don't realize. But when things are destroyed and go out of their hand, then they realize, yes, somebody is there. So that is how they realize the presence of the Lord. So Prabhupada is very nicely explaining this. And in this verse, it is also explained what is the effect of this time. It brings about fear in the living entity. Actually, in original nature, no living entity is fearful. It's all loving devotional service. There is no question of fear. In the spiritual world, there is no fear. Abhayam. In Bhagavad Gita also, when Krishna is describing the difference between matter and spirit, material platform and spiritual platform, Krishna says, Abhayam Sattvam Samshuddhihi. He says, in our purified consciousness, Samshuddhihi, we will become Abhayam. So, the opposite is also true. When consciousness is dirty, when it is materially attached, when it is contaminated, then it is Bhayam. See? The moment our consciousness is purified, then Abhayam. That's how that famous song we sing, Prabhupada says, Bhaja hure mana Shri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charanar Vindare. If we surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord, then we can become completely fearless. Abhaya Charanar Vindare. And in Bhagavatam, Prabhupada in today's verse is also quoting that. Bhayam dvitiya abhiniveshataha. What is the cause of fear? What causes fear actually? Why in material consciousness fear is very predominant? That also we see. There are 4 principles. Ahara Nidra, Bhayam, Maithunam Cha. These are all material principles connected with this material body. If we have taken material body, these 4 principles are there. So out of them, Bhayam is very prominent. Prabhupada says, in any species of life, one cannot get out of Bhayam. Even though a small bird, it is eating its food, even there it is fearful. It's looking here and here, isn't it? Prahlad Maharaj also explains the reason is absorption in materialism. Isn't it? Anybody remembers that verse? Sada samudvigna dhiya asat grahat. This asat, matter which is not sat, absorption in that matter brings about constant anxieties, constant fear, every moment fear. You see, that is the nature of material consciousness. So, that means if devotees have to understand, fearlessness is possible only on spiritual platform. Unless you come to spiritual platform, there is no question of becoming fearless. So if we have to become fearless, then we have to come to the platform of spiritual platform. Then only it is possible. So, bhayam dvitiya abhiniveshataha. Mind being absorbed in dvitiya. Niveshataha means mind being completely absorbed. You have invested your mind. Nivesha means investment. Because we have invested our mind in dvitiya, secondary. Prabhupada explains why this body is called secondary in the purport. Who will explain? Sumanohara. In the purport, Prabhupada says why this body is called secondary. Why this is not called primary? Why? Sunarma? Eternal it may be. Why it is primary? Anantarupa. So we have to hear carefully. Every word of Prabhupada is filled with so much understanding. Reading should not be done just as a matter of reading. We should absorb that reading. So Prabhupada says, soul exists first, matter comes later. Matter comes from spirit. Spirit does not come from matter. So it is secondary. Primarily, spirit exists. Just like Krishna exists and then he makes this material manifestation. Similarly, spirit exists and on spirit this material body is formed. It is secondary. So, when the consciousness is on secondary, when it is absorbed and invested in secondary, then bhaya. Result is bhaya. That is what it says. Bhayam dvitiya abhiniveshataha. When does this happen? That also it describes. Syat, this happens, this is possible. Ishad apetasya viparyayo smritihi. When we have rebelled against the Supreme Lord. Ishad means the Supreme Lord. Viparyayo smritihi. Forgetfulness of God brings about absorption in dvitiya. And absorption in dvitiya results in bhaya. You see? This is how it happens. So if we revive our forgetfulness of God, if we revive our original consciousness of the Supreme Lord, Krishna consciousness, then automatically bhaya will go away. Because the original cause is this. Absorption in matter has come about because of our forgetfulness of God. So, if you see in today's purport, Prabhupada is explaining, this is very interesting. Living entity's fear of death is due to his false ego of identifying with the body. Everyone is afraid of death. Actually, there is no death for the spirit soul, but due to our absorption in the identification of body as self, the fear of death develops. So, false ego means what? Because identity, now it is identity crisis for us. Our real identity is Jivera Swarupa Hoy Nityera Krishna Das. That we have forgotten. And now we have taken separate identity. That is called Ahankara. And because of that, what will happen? Ahankara, Vimudha Kartaham iti manyate. He will think, I am doing everything, whereas everything is controlled completely by Prakriti. And in that illusion of Ahankara, I am this material body, misidentifying the body, everything starts from that point. So that is being explained. And then Prabhupada is giving in the purport how to get out of this. If the spirit soul engages in the spiritual activities of devotional service, he is completely freed from the platform of birth and death. His next position is completely spiritual freedom from material body. Now absorption is in the material body. The moment you change the activities of this body and just engage in devotional service, then the result will be, will become free from this birth and death of this body. So our next position will be completely spiritual freedom from this material body. Freedom from material body means freedom from bhaya. So that is how it is possible. So this is a great learning that sometimes, we become fearful of death. But if we start seeing even death as nothing but one of the forms of the Lord, no doubt, ghastly form of the Lord. Ghastly form of the Lord. But it is one of the forms of the Lord. And specifically for people who are not in devotional service. So we'll stop with this Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.